We're here to talk about one of the hottest investments in the entire world right now, and that is uranium. Many of these stocks up hundreds of percent this year, especially in the last 12 to 18 months. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of percents. And this is presenting probably one of the most compelling opportunities out there that have the opportunity for an incredible risk to reward. And we're talking to my good friend Justin from Uranium Insider. This is the best newsletter out there to know what mining stocks and uranium to invest in, what to buy, what to sell, understanding the macro thesis. This party is getting very, very, very exciting. I just texted Justin yesterday. I had a stock up 32.3% just yesterday. So in one day, in the uranium market. So this is very exciting stuff, guys. So make sure you hit the like button on this video in the comments, and it's pinned to the top comment and in the description. I highly encourage you to sign up to Uranium Insider. I am a paying member myself. It's the best paid newsletter out there, and it's very, very, very important to seize this uranium opportunity because the market's so small that when this really moves, it's going to be too late very quickly. And you want to be prepared for it right now. So right there down below is a link where you can sign up to Uranium Insider right there down below in the description and pinned to the comments. And it's good to see you, Justin.
Always good to see you, Jake. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good whenever I think about the uranium market because it is just getting incredible. I could not believe that I had a stock up 32% yesterday. And the crazy thing about it is it's interesting now, but still nobody knows about it. I'm like, am I going to have a stock up like 85% in one day? Eventually, when this uranium price goes over 100 and all the hedge funds come in. So I'm pretty excited.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a really exciting space, honestly. Even during the consolidation periods and everything, it's like the news flow is always coming in, and there's just the fundamental developments just keep stacking on top of each other, and there's always a lot to dig through to figure out what the heck's going on. But yeah, Sprott is back on the scene. I mean, they purchased 1.4 million pounds last week, but we still saw the price falling consistently, and it was really confusing a lot of people. The stocks actually held up pretty well, interestingly enough, after about a 20 to 30% sell off from the highs in September. We had like a 2-week period of this really tight consolidation for most of the stocks in the space. And, I was mentioning to our newsletter members on Sunday night when I update the weekly watch list that on these tight periods of consolidation usually break out in the direction of the overall trend. And lo and behold, the next day or 2 days later, I should say on Tuesday, boom, big volume came back into the uranium space. And we saw record volumes yesterday and today in URA. Like the biggest daily trading volume in the entire existence of that ETF happened yesterday. And so that's a real sign of a breakout when you see volume combined with the actual move in the stock. And that type of volume in that type of vehicle that's big money. That's huge. That's institutional money coming back in, and the funds are flowing into the Sprott vehicle as well. In fact, yesterday it was the biggest day that they've had in terms of raising funds. They raised over $90 million yesterday alone.
That's the biggest day since they've been listed.
Yeah, since their ATM went live. They haven't raised that much. I think the biggest day before that was in the 70 million range. So just huge. And they only purchased 400,000 pounds yesterday. So
wow.
They ended the day with 70 something million in cash. And I think they're buying pretty heavily today because today the spot price moved 15% today. It's like, and the spread is huge. It's like 45 bid, 48 ask. So it's a big spread, but it's a big move because we bottomed out at $37 just a couple of days ago.
So where do you think we go from here?
Higher. It's difficult to say exactly how high and exactly how soon. Everybody was not expecting the Sprott vehicle to move the price as quickly as they did from mid-August to mid-September. The spot price went from $32 to $52 in 4 weeks. Nobody expected that. For them to be able to buy that amount of uranium Um, I mean, first of all, it's a lot of uranium for a single end user entity to be purchasing. So when we're talking about the spot market, most of the volume in the spot market, something like 80% of the volume in the spot market is trading hands back and forth. It's what's referred to as trader churn. So it's not actually pounds being purchased by a trader who's fulfilling a carry trade, or by a utility directly, or by a physical fund, but it's literally just pounds being traded back and forth, and trying to arbitrage, time arbitrage, interest rate arbitrage, trying to time these moves up and down in the market. However, for an end user to come in and buy over 12 million pounds in less than 2 months now, that's new. And that's why these prices are moving so much. It's because we're not seeing, the market knows that the pounds being purchased by Sprott are coming out of the market and they're not coming back in. And so for Sprott to be able to do this, and for this vehicle to enable investors to have a direct link to the purchasing of physical uranium, is a whole new ballgame. So now, as funds flow into this vehicle, they're willing to be up to 50 to 60% of the daily traded volume in terms of shares as issuance in the ATM. So if you're buying U.UN, the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, on any given day, and they're greater than a 1% premium to their net asset value, there's a 50 to 60% chance you're buying from their ATM, not from someone selling the stock. So it's incredibly efficient the way this is working for them to turn this share volume into share issuance, into cash raised, into physical uranium purchased almost in real time. And it's going to be interesting to see how much they purchased today. It's probably going to be a lot. They purchased over 1 million pounds in a single day a few weeks ago. So we know that the spot market is pretty thin based on the types of moves that we're seeing. I wouldn't be surprised if we very quickly break through that $52 level. I'm saying within probably a week or two. In my opinion, we're going to be back through that level that we peaked at a couple of weeks back. And we very likely could be, I mean, how can you even make a price target in this environment? I don't even know. I mean, we could see $60, $70 by the end of the year. And I'm usually conservative with this kind of thing, but it's really, the sky's the limit. It has everything to do with fund flow into this vehicle. And if it keeps coming, they're going to keep buying. So it's in the hands of the financial community, essentially.
And what's amazing about this is the fact that they haven't tapped into a New York Stock Exchange listing. When I talked to Rick Rule, I think last week, Rick's always, he never shows his emotions and never expresses too much certainty on anything, really. He does a good job of being conservative. And he seemed very confident that they would have a listing in Q1, Q2. I mean, obviously he's not sticking a hard date, but hypothetically, if something like that did occur and you just called it end of Q1, if we continue on this trajectory and all these funds now step in, as you've been stating, now that summer's over, last time in December last year, end of November, December last year, a lot of these uranium stocks went up 300% in no time. Everyone pretty much went up 100%, and we're talking in, a blink of an eye. And I wonder, what on earth could occur if uranium, if just what's happening continues and the price is 60, 70, 80 bucks the end of the year. And then a New York Stock Exchange listing comes in the beginning of the following year. And all of a sudden, as you've stated a lot, the money flow, obviously grows exponentially. I mean, it starts to make me honestly look at those types of Kevin Bamborough type of $200 uranium and these types of numbers. It seems like a hard thing to stop because, as you stated, they're a black hole. They are not selling. They aren't even allowed to sell, I believe, back into the market. And so this seems like a rubber band that's being stretched further and further. What's your thoughts on that? And what's your feeling on the significance or the impact that a New York Stock Exchange listing could have? And what are you hearing? Are you feeling confident this is something that will occur in 2022 as well?
There's no doubt the impact would be big. I mean, the NYSE is something like 13 times the size of the TSX in terms of money flow. So clearly, it's a much more liquid exchange, and Sprott's goal with this vehicle is to create a highly liquid vehicle. They want to service their customers and their clientele with another extremely liquid product, and their clientele primarily big money, very large institutions. And so, and that's the primary concern of large institutions when they want to exposure to a sector or to an individual vehicle is liquidity. It's not necessarily that they're timing the bottom and trying to cash out at the top. It's that they have liquidity requirements in order to actually buy something. They'll have minimum dollar amount requirements. They'll have liquidity requirements. Their position size will have to be a certain small percentage of the daily traded volume, for example. And if that's not there, they're not taking a position. So it's not like, oh, these institutions are just not interested in uranium yet. It's like, no, there's nothing that exists in the uranium space that offers enough liquidity for them to even take a 1% position. So Sprott knows this, and their goal is to create that liquid vehicle. Now, and the New York Stock Exchange obviously would provide the most liquid exchange in the world for them to do this. With that said, clearly they're doing a bang up job on the TSX. I mean, they raised $90 million yesterday just on the TSX. So the lack of the NYSE listing is not going to really inhibit this vehicle. It's just, It would just really be gasoline on the fire. And it's not a guarantee that they get it. He's confident, John Ciampaglia, the CEO, he's confident that they'll get it. This is just the first time that there's been a vehicle like this applied for on the New York Stock Exchange in terms of an actual physical uranium vehicle that hasn't existed on the NYSE before. So, the uranium participation was on the TSX and on the OTC, not on the NYSE. But what he was telling me is that the NYSE is, these exchanges are competitive. So the NYSE sees that they want a listing. They see that the TSX has a listing and it's clearly doing well on the TSX, and they want a piece of that pie. So what happens is the NYSE actually will fight's not the right word, but they'll pull on Sprott's behalf with the SEC to encourage.
Right, because you're
SEC.
saying instead of it, going on the NASDAQ, they want these things that are bringing in this big money. They want them on their exchange.
Yeah, 100%. So the NYSE is actually going to be pulling for them in terms of SEC regulators.
Wow.
But there's going to be a 45-day public opinion period where people will be able to comment on whether or not the Sprott vehicle should be listed on the NYSE. And I'm sure there's going to be some pushback primarily from industry players, seeing their effect on the market. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think the odds are in their favor, but it's not a guarantee. But it's also not a reason. Clearly, it's not a reason to sit on the sidelines and wait for that to happen. I mean, we had 2 days in a row with total portfolio gains of over 10%. It's when you have a balanced and diversified portfolio move like that, it's incredible. It's incredible the types of moves that happen in this space. And like you said, you had a stock up 30-something%. It's the NYSE is literally just like a cherry on top. It's not something that anybody who's interested in investing in the space should hold out for. It's something that if it happens, it'll clearly be positive in terms of the investing community and obviously the liquidity and the funds flow that will come into the Sprott vehicle. But for them to be able to raise the kind of money that they're raising right now on the TSX, it's like, who even really cares about the NYSE at this point?
Yeah, truth, right? Like, nonetheless, my opinion is it seems evident that this is going to be a historic market. And, based off of what you've said from the beginning, that your personal belief before Sprott stuff even happened, that this market cap could exceed the last one. And that seems obvious. I mean, just, Kevin Bambro did some math saying basically off of $1 billion available as of now after a 400 spent, that you could basically clear out all the supply in the world based off of his opinions of calculations, which he believed would send the price of uranium to $200. I mean, that's without a New York Stock Exchange. Is he right? Is he wrong? Nobody knows, but he's somebody that is certainly qualified to discuss it. So for someone listening to this video right now, that what's your message to someone about this uranium thesis and this uranium investment right now, and what are the important things that you're trying to show and teach people with Uranium Insider?
Sure. I would say that my message is, if you're not already positioned in the sector, that at least take a look at it, because even though it's up pretty big since December of last year, I still think we're in the early innings. And I think we're probably just in the first couple of innings, maybe the third inning. And those real moves don't happen until the last few innings. And uranium just has so much going for it. There's now multiple nations in the EU that are pushing for it to be included in the green taxonomy, where it would actually get EU funding as a green energy source. We've had France's courageous leader Macron come out pledging to go all out into nuclear, and they're already 75% nuclear. So they're increasingly embracing new nuclear. We're talking about advanced nuclear and SMRs. And France is a leader, whether or not you like their leader. They are a leader in the nuclear energy space, and clearly what's going on around them in Germany and the UK, they're sitting pretty with 75% nuclear, because there's major energy crisis happening across Europe and in China and in many other nations as well. And the nations that are heavily nuclear are doing better, because it's just such an unbelievably efficient energy source, and it's base load, and it's clean, and you can store years and years and years of fuel in a small little warehouse. So it's a clear solution for this energy crisis environment that we're in currently. It has the support of the right and the left in the United States, and increasingly in other countries, which is profound. It's increasingly getting the support from the environmental left. It's an energy play, so it's part of that energy bag as far as these energy-based commodities that we're expecting are going to run hard in the next couple of years. And as far as, my entire portfolio at this point is exposed to energy. It's metals, it's energy stocks. And I think that that's really where the trend is going. There's going to be probably a cycle out of these growth stocks, tech stocks, and into these commodity and energy plays. And in my opinion, uranium is a unique way to play it for those reasons I just expressed, but also because it's such a small market. We're still talking somewhere around a $40-ish billion market cap for the entire sector. And there's 65, less than 70 companies in the whole space. And you see what happens when real money comes in, like it did yesterday and today. We see moves, like you mentioned, 30-something% in a day, 15-20% in a day. It's nothing moves like a uranium market. You see cryptocurrency type gains, but you have something to sink your teeth into behind it. Whereas with crypto, it seems like just such a speculative fervor, and 99% of the people don't have the faintest clue of what the hell's going on behind the coin that they own. At least now you can say, okay, I'm owning this for these reasons. I can feel good about this investment for these reasons. And we can see gains like this. It's very unique in that way. And it's only going to grow in terms of popularity, because now finally we're seeing some larger voices come out and speak on it. I mean, we're seeing articles come out of Zero Hedge on multiple occasions saying uranium is the hot new thing and hedge funds are coming into the space, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really unique play. And I think that, I'm with you. I think that now is a very strange time in the world, to say the least, without getting deep into the weeds on that subject. But I think that you and your listeners and myself, we're all interested in making a return on our money now, because your chat with Rick Rule was great. He was talking about 6% inflation compounded in 10 years. You lose 60-something% of your purchasing power just sitting on cash. That's astonishing. So we need to have a return on our cash now. And that's through, just holding, appreciating physical assets. And if you're investing, God, you better be crushing that inflation rate with your returns in order to pay taxes on those gains and come back on top. It's a competitive world right now, and it's a survival of the fittest. And in my opinion, investing intelligently in these things is one of the smartest things that people can be doing right now.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons that I've made such an effort to discuss uranium on this channel. For everyone listening that hasn't yet, the Uranium Insider newsletter is pinned to the comments. It's in the description right there down below. I highly suggest you at least scroll the page. I'm a paying member myself. It's fantastic and something that's truly been life-changing. And so the link is pinned to the comments in the description. I recommend you open that and check it out. And the reason that I've been so, because it's still, like you said, it's such a small market, and it's even smaller on the conversation you can have with people. But nobody knows anything about uranium. Nobody wants to talk about uranium. And so running an online channel, just the difference in early making videos and not being able, knowing what, whenever we have an economic channel, a gold channel, huge audience for that type of content. And the uranium videos were like always videos I made that would be my worst ones. And it was kind of me putting my passion project out that people didn't care about. And now we're seeing this. And I really believe that unless something apocalyptic happens, but even if it does, the uranium is still going to be needed. It's hard to right now look at a more incredible opportunity. You mentioned Rick's statement on, losing 60 something percent of your purchasing power over 10 years just at a 5% compounded rate, right? And then the question is, so they say year over year, inflation's 5.4%. What if it's 10? Then you cut your time in half. My guess is it probably is 10, maybe even be higher than that. And so I've been pounding the table on this. I could get more views just talking about stuff more people wanted to listen to. But, I think the world's changing a lot, and there's a small window of time to get as much financial freedom as you can. And uranium clearly checks the boxes on that. And that's why I've been so excited about it. And, not to mention, like you said, think of one other thing that is not politically divisive anymore. It's a shame that you have to have people concerned about not having heat in the middle of winter in Europe for people to finally get it. But apparently you do. Apparently you have to have massive blackouts. And it's exciting because of that too. I know that, unfortunately, the worse that this energy crisis gets, it's just, there's so much fuel in nuclear and uranium sales. And that's why to you as a listener, if you still haven't joined Uranium Insider, or you're always like, Jake, why do you make so many of these uranium interviews? You're a uranium shill. It's hard to imagine a better play right now, just purely based off of the math. And so I highly recommend you sign up to Uranium Insider in the comments and in the description. It really is amazing, isn't it, Justin, what's happening right now? I mean, you've been in this sector a long time, studying it a long time. And I have to imagine it's almost surreal for you to see what's happening right now, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, I feel a sense of redemption in a way, I guess, after years of accumulating, disloved stocks and trying to pound the table on a thesis I believed in. But at the same time, it's the classic contrarian play that is finally coming. It's not even mainstream yet, but at least it's recognized simply by looking at the charts as something that's turning around and moving in a positive direction. It's difficult to really put my finger on where I see this going. I do think that the market's going to move quickly. I do really think it's going to move positively over the long term, and I think it's positive in the short term. The midterm is the gray area. So if you're saying, how is nuclear and uranium going to be in, by 2035, it's like, well, they're expecting the demand for uranium to double by 2040 globally, right? And they're saying we need another Kazatomprom by 2030, which is a 60 million pound uranium producer.
That's the long term. 60?
Yeah, 60 million pounds
out
a
of
year.
200 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, produced.
Or I'm sorry, about 130 million.
Yeah,
so
they're about 40% of annual production.
Wow. Yeah.
Globally.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I said the global supply. That's incredible.
Yeah. You were thinking demand. I mean, they produce, about a third of demand, a little less than a third of the total demand. And they're saying, and we need another one of them in the next 8 years. So, and in the short term, I think that clearly this is a story having to do with the financial players and the funds flow. And so I think that the investable market for this is long term, but I think that the speculative trade is short term. So I'm still thinking like we're probably lucky to get 2 years, out of this before it peaks and comes back down. That's where I'm thinking we're with the spot price of uranium. So I think that there is kind of a sense of urgency with having substantial exposure to this sector in terms of capturing that fast move. That's really where I think this is going. And I think that we're, day 2 into a multi-month run that's likely to go as like a seasonal run. That's probably going to go through December into January, February. Then we'll probably see another pullback. That's going to be, whatever we see, that 25, 35% pullback for whatever reason. That's just how it works in these resource sectors. You go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And then I think we'll see like a final epic leg that'll go beyond that. Maybe that coincides with the potential New York Stock Exchange listing for Sprott. Not really sure on that. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I think this is going to be an insanely fast, insanely parabolic kind of thing, less than 2 year sort of market. And I just wanted to mention to you, as you know, we've been doing these members only webinars, and we do them about once a month, maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks or so. This will be our third one, happening this coming Tuesday, the 19th. And we're going to have John Ciampaglia as a guest on the webinar. So we're going to be able to pick his brain and find out really what's going on in the spot market. And
I know there's a lot of uranium junkies that watch, but for the people that aren't uranium junkies, just explain who that is and the relevance he has to our conversation thus far today.
John Ciampaglia is Sprott CEO, and he was the one who personally took on the task of taking over the Uranium Participation Corporation. So he's the guy that spent 3 years making this happen, and he's the one that's talking to the clients and is dealing with running the ATM and speaking with their trader who's going out and purchasing uranium in the spot market. So he knows all of the inner workings of exactly what's going on here. He's going to share some details on what's going on with their OTC listing, SRUUF, which was a lot of brokers took it down, and it was sell only for the past few weeks because of an SEC rule that just changed. So they're in the process of upgrading that OTC listing and clearing the issue with the SEC. So he'll have more information on that as well. And that'll be guys,
that'll be fascinating. So the person truly at the helm of this entire Sprott Uranium Trust. So that's for Uranium Insider members. I highly recommend everybody goes right now and signs up to Uranium Insider. It's pinned as the top comment, and it's in the description right there down below. I mean, this is something I'm very excited about, and it's hard to imagine. I feel really blessed. I feel like I got lucky, like you guys did all this hard work, and then I kind of, a lot of us just kind of walked into this since the, COVID stock market sell-off. But it's really incredible how small the market cap still is. And this is something that, I'm I have so much fun doing these updates with. I'm getting so many people writing me that are like, hey, I joined Uranium Insider and I'm up X%, or this happened to me. These stories, I'm sure you're starting to see them a lot. They're going to build a lot, because, like you said, I mean, what type of market sector can you have back-to-back 10% portfolio days, or the whole
Yeah.
portfolio? I mean, where do you get a big ETF like index with a bunch of companies that has like URNM that has days where it's up 10, 12, 15%? I mean, what the heck? I mean, imagine. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So we want to thank you for all of your updates, Justin. Give us a comment right there down below that says "Go Uranium Go." Comment down below "Go Uranium Go." Let me know if you're in Uranium Insider as well. I'm a paying member myself. I highly encourage you to do that. That sounds like an awesome, awesome webinar coming up with John. So everyone that joins Uranium Insider will get access to that. So to go directly to the horse's mouth with John on the future of this uranium trust and the impact it's going to have on this market, and of course all of our own individual portfolios. The links in the comments and pinned to the description right there down below. Make sure you share this video. What's crazy too is, like, when we started making these, no one would watch these videos. They were always my worst video. Now a lot of times they're actually, I mean, it was incredible if I got 15, 18,000 views on a uranium video. I mean, there's not now, I mean, there's got to be 10 at least with 30,000 and 50, 60,000 views between various people. And that's showing that this is building. And yeah, I'm excited to be on this journey with you, Justin. Any final words?
No, I'm excited as well. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again with your audience, and I'm really happy to hear that you've done well, and some of your audience members have done well also. And it's what it's all about, man. Let's help each other make money. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I really hope that everybody who does make money can take care of themselves and their families, and ultimately, spread it around even more and help out their local communities and stuff. Because things are strange right now, but this is definitely a bright spot to be able to do well in these resource markets, and uranium's been no exception. I'm looking forward to the coming months for this one for sure.
Yeah, well said. I feel so grateful. I feel almost, it just feels like dumb luck that it happened. And, if you're stumbling on this video, if you're not in Uranium Insider, you haven't considered uranium, I highly recommend from the bottom of my heart that you check that out. Links in the comments, in the description right there down below, to at least give it a read. Comment down below, "Go Uranium Go." If we get 1,000 comments that say "Go Uranium Go," there's a good chance it may actually have an impact on the spot market. Just joking. But thanks for watching today's episode. Thanks for joining, Justin. And be sure to check out Uranium Insider.